The F84G 21RE is a rank 5 battle rating 7.7 fighter for the USA, China, and Italy. France also gets a version of the F84, but that one is the G26RE. However, I'm pretty sure it still performs exactly the same as all of the other F84Gs. The F84G has slowly become one of my favorite early fighters in War Thunder, and today I'm going to show you why. There are a few key differences between the B and G variants of the F84. They are quite similar aircraft in the way you play them, but there are a few performance differences that separate the two, mainly being acceleration and engine power. The F84B really struggles with acceleration, and if you try to take off with a full ground attack load on a small runway, you won't be able to get off the ground. This was actually a big problem before these aircraft were given air spawns. In fact, I remember trying to take off on Hokkaido some years ago and never being able to get off the runway. That said, the F84B still has a very strong straight line speed and dive performance. Essentially, the F84G is just the F84B, but much better, well, everything. Has a higher top speed, much better acceleration, turns pretty well, holds its energy fairly well in a turn, and still has a hefty ground attack loadout as well. However, all of this extra performance comes at the price of a slightly higher battle rating. The F84G sits at a battle rating of 7.7, while the F84B sits at 7.3. It's not too much of a difference, but if you get a full up tier in the F84G, you will face aircraft like the MiG-15 Biz and F-Sabres, which do literally everything better than you do. Fortunately, I haven't had many full up tier matches, but when I have, I can still hold my own pretty well. So let's go over the F84's weapons. You get 6 M3 50 caliber machine guns as your main armament that are center mounted, which is nice when it comes to aim. You have 4 of the machine guns in the nose and 2 of the machine guns in the wings very close to the fuselage. Being the M3s, they have a much higher rate of fire than the M2s that planes like the P-51s and other early US aircraft have. Honestly, they're a bit unpredictable to me. You have to have good aim, and even then it sometimes feels like the bullets do almost nothing. But then other times you'll one-shot people's wings off, you'll get pilot snipes left and right, and you will easily set people on fire. As for ammunition, I use the ground target belts, as they do lots of incendiary damage and have nice armor-piercing properties when you need to hit ground targets if you are grinding. These guns can destroy light pillboxes very easily, which is a great source of research points and silver lions. The F84G has a very nice ground attack loadout as well. I won't go through every specific loadout you can take, but if I were to take out bombs and rockets, I would either take the 24 HVAR rockets and 2 Tiny Tim rockets, or alternatively 24 HVAR rockets and 2 1,000 pound bombs. Oh yeah, and side note about taking the rockets, there's this really cool trait about the F84s that I don't see brought up very much. If you take the rocket loadout, it removes the wingtip fuel tanks, and I've been told that there is a performance increase modeled in-game because of the reduced weight and drag from those fuel tanks. However, I cannot confirm this 100% because I've only heard this from other players. If someone seeing this knows anything about this, if you could drop that knowledge in the comments below, that would be amazing. I normally don't take this aircraft with any bombs or rockets, mainly because I use this thing as a fighter. However, if there's someone running away for a really long time at the end of a match, I'll go back to base after I run out of ammo and grab some rockets and then go back towards the center of the map and farm the ground targets. Most of the time when this happens, I don't even get the chance to get all the way back to the center of the map to farm ground targets because the last guy usually ends up being found and killed, and that usually ends the match. So the tactics I use in battle tend to vary from match to match, but lately I've found myself rushing straight towards the enemies as quickly as I can without sacrificing any altitude. I will normally fly straight for a little bit and then climb at a slight angle just to give myself a little bit of room, just in case I need to get out of a nasty situation. I use this tactic mainly because this thing gets an air spawn, which allows me to get to the enemies at a much higher energy state compared to the enemies that I run into. I will then take 1 or 2 long-range head-ons and pull off so I don't die. Then, I'll slightly put my nose up and get away from the enemy players. After that, I am typically pretty far away from everybody, and if nobody follows me, I'll reassess my situation and go from there. Usually at this point in the match, people have already started fighting, people are getting lower and lower and slower, which provides me the perfect opportunity to do some by-the-book boom and zooming. Basically just stay really fast, don't turn fight, and get away after you make a pass, and then usually it's easy mode. Anyway, enough rambling, let's get into some gameplay. Unfortunately, there's not going to be game audio in this clip, it's just going to be me talking and then some music in the background, because my friends and I were talking during this whole clip, which kind of ruins it. I figure background music's a little better than completely unhinged conversation that has nothing to do with War Thunder or video games in general. So, here you go. Alright, getting into the match. So, as you can see, I've already climbed up to about 4,500 meters up, and I see an SU-11 down below who wants to go heads up with me. I will gladly take that from long range. Gonna set him on fire with a couple shots, and that's going to be my first kill. Then, after he's dead, I see a Seahawk over to my right, so I start heading towards him. He seems to not be paying any attention to me, so lucky for me, that's going to be an easy kill number 2. However, I don't even know how that killed him. You can see in the bottom right it says, Seahawk Mark 100, suffers damage of right wing, even though he seemed like he was still flying straight. He could have probably landed at that point, but yeah, you know what, I'll take it. I honestly thought it was a pilot snipe at first, but apparently it wasn't. Anyway, I am now in a position where just about everybody on the enemy team is below me, which is optimal for this aircraft. This aircraft is best used as a boom and zoomer, and honestly, it's pretty fun to use it that way too. I brought up in a couple of videos ago about the F84B being one of the best fighters to introduce a player to jets, and this is exactly why. It's just a great boom and zoomer. It teaches you to stay fast and not lose that speed, which better prepares you for later generation jets. Anyway, yeah, as you just saw, that's what I just did. Just a perfect boom and zoom. I flew away, got some altitude, and now I'm diving on an ME-262. Kinda whiffed my aim a little bit here, but that's okay, I still get a crit on him. And after my attack on him, I'm going to go back up, which is that zoom part of the boom and zoom once again. Doing this in this aircraft will make sure that I have the advantage at all times, or at least as much of the time as possible. Start diving back down on this LA-200. I perceive him as the highest threat target out of all the people immediately surrounding me, but I quickly realize that he is pulling away from me very quickly and I'm not going to be able to catch him. So now I ultimately decide I'm going to take out this 262 below me. Just trying to get in a position where I can easily line up a shot on him. He straightens out a bit and I start diving down. Looks like he tries turning into me to try and avoid the shot, but he's at low altitude so he's not going to be able to dive under. And I actually hit my shots, and that's going to be another kill. And skipping forward a little bit, I'm going to get to the part where I am once again going after the LA-200. Take a peek behind me, and looks like my team's all over that SU-11, so I'm not worried about him anymore. The LA-200 takes a turn and a dive, so I'm going to try and cut him off. Get a few hits, pull back around on his tail. He starts pulling some sort of evasive maneuvers out of panic, and I'm going to get a crit on him. He's pretty much out of the match at this point, however he is not fully dead yet, so I'm going to make one more pass on him. Start lining up my guns, and that is going to set him on fire, which will result in my 5th and final kill of the game. To be honest, I was having some trouble getting some footage for this aircraft. Not because I was having really bad games or anything, but because it seemed like all the footage I was getting was kind of boring, and I haven't really had that issue yet. Even though I was getting relatively high kill games a lot of the time, I felt like the footage wasn't good enough. Which is so strange because I thought this video was going to be a breeze just because of how much I like flying the F84G, but I don't know, it was weird. New challenge for me, I guess. Anyway, so the F84G is definitely one of my favorite lower tier jets that this game has to offer. It's incredibly fun to fly, and it's quite powerful as well. Not to mention its very large ground pounding loadout for a fighter of its size. If you fly this aircraft with care, you will have a very enjoyable experience. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like, subscribe if you like what you see here, and let me know what you think about this video. That's all I've got for you today. See you next time. Peace.